Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Learn Smart Coding. This is Karthik. Thanks for joining with me today. And in this video, I'm going to cover the reactive forms of Angular. Okay, so the one that you're seeing on my screen is the demo app. I have released the previous video which covers the basics of Angular and the complete development of this application. You can see all these applications. You can actually view this product. You can add this particular item to the wish list. You can go to the product section. You can do so many things, right? So we saw all of these things. So what we are going to say in this one is we are going to see the managed product. So under the managed product, when you land, you'll be presented with the number of products that you have added. So you can actually edit those products. Okay, so right now only 2 products are showing because I have limited only these 2 products to be edited. Other products I'm not allowing by default to get edited. So this is the one. So you can edit this product, you can change this, you can update this, you can actually do all these actions. And once this is updated, if you go to that particular product, you'll be able to see that product. So this one is what we edited. You see this, it got edited. And actually you can create new product. And I've covered all the validations and the API validations, how to present the API validations, error message back to the UI, all these things. So that is what we're going to cover. And I'll be also giving you most of the tips whichever you want it for the Angular development. So stay with me and code with me. You'll be able to learn and complete this course, and you will become a wonderful developer. So without delay, come, let's get started. So I will provide you this code and the branch where you need to start with. So don't worry about all those things. It's there in the GitHub, and you can just download that and keep it ready. And then from there you can start building whatever I'm going to show you now. So this is the app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder called admin, and I'm going to quickly create the components using the Angular CLI. So if you see down, I'm doing nggc, so ng generate component, and there are a couple of components that we wanted, right? So let's first create a folder called product, because we're going to deal with the product edit. So we have a product folder, so we are going to create a couple of components inside this product folder. Okay, so /admin /product first thing that we have to do is the create product. Okay, so it is quickly creating the product, the create product component. Okay, so it has got created, and basically it's gonna update the app module. We will change it. Okay, so because we just have only the folders, it will go and create directly here. So let's delete this. Okay, so we will be creating a separate module, the admin module, and we need to configure these newly created components inside this admin module. So let's go ahead and create the admin module. So admin.module.ts. So as you know how you have to create this module, a dash module will give you a snippet of the module like we saw in the previous Angular video. And then we also want admin routing module.ts, okay, where all the routings for the admin section will go here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a dash module. It's not coming. I will go and create again. It's coming. So I'm going to clean up all the unnecessary components here. We don't need all these things, right? So we're going to clean up this and then name it as admin module. So we have named it now. Good. So in the import, like I said, we need to import couple of modules here. Okay, so here the common module, the form module, and the shared module. Shared module is required because sometimes we might have to use the spinner and other stuff, whatever is there in the shared module. So that's why we're importing those things. Now coming back to this admin routing module, okay, we need to configure a couple of products, only then we can do a routing configuration. So let's go ahead and create the edit product component. So I'm using the same CLI, and I created that. Okay, good. So what else? We need to have a component called view product, because that's where you land when you click on the admin or the manage product. So 3 components has been created. We need one more component called upload component. So we will do that as well. So it's going to be /admin /product /upload product image. So right, so that's a separate component. We will put that in the edit section. Okay, so now we have 4 components. What we have to do is let's cut this from the declaration, because we used to put all these things in the admin routing module. If you're new to this video, if you have not seen my previous video, please go ahead and watch that video. It will be very helpful, and you'll understand to continue this process. Great. So we're going to cut the content that we have we're going to cut all those components from this admin module and put it here. We also have to define the routes here, right? Because when someone clicks on that product, manage product, we have to come to that admin section. So it will be like this, right? Localhost 4200 slash admin slash product slash create. Okay, so let's first define this route and then we'll configure this admin route into the app routing module. Okay, so when someone comes to the website name slash admin slash product slash create, we are saying okay, bring up this create product component. Okay, so similarly we need to bring up for the view and the edit. Okay, because there are 3 routes possible. We're gonna edit it, so we will say product slash edit slash the product ID. Okay, so this is the simplest module that we have. The more you build up, the more feature you build up, accordingly you have to build up the URL. Okay, the last one is the view one. So if someone just comes on admin slash product slash manage, where you have to list all the product images, no, not the product image, the product itself, right? In the starting of the demo I showed you that page, right? So that one, so that page is called view product component page. Great, so we have configured this. Now we have also configured this in line number 14. Now we need to export these 3 components, in fact 4 components that we created, right? The create product component, edit product component, view product component, and upload component. All these 4 components has to be exported. So this exported components, then we will import it in the declaration, right? So which means we are literally segregating the code, separation of concern, but those 4 components will come here because we are going to use that in both the files, right? So it'll be nice to separate it. That's how we built the earlier module. Okay, so now similar to how we loaded this product module, we will load the admin module. So I'm going to change all these things. So the path will be admin, and how we have to come is it will be admin slash product, and then the module sitting inside the admin, the product, right? The product folder. Okay, so all right, the admin module is actually sitting at the admin folder level, not the product folder level. Sorry for that. All right, so we corrected it, all good. Let's clean up unwanted things. Everything looks good. So what else is pending? So we need to go to the header and configure it. So when they come and click on the manage product, right, we need to define the route. So a-router link will give you a small snippet. You go ahead and type admin slash product, or I would say admin slash product, and then yeah, that will take you to the view product. Okay, so we're gonna load this. I'm gonna click this, and seems to be that this is not working. It clearly says it cannot find its route. Okay, so what's the mistake? So let's go ahead and see. Everything looks good. Let's go to this. This also looks good. Let's go to the admin itself and then the routing module. All right, okay, so you see this admin slash product slash manage, and what else we can do? We can actually say if someone comes and lands on just slash admin. So if someone comes and lands only on the website name slash admin, we are saying, hey, navigate them to or redirect them to the route called product slash manage. So which means we need to go to this header and also edit there, right? So right now header has product slash admin slash product. Okay, so we have to do that. See, this is still not working. You're seeing this error because, as I said, like as I was describing, we need to go and change that into the header also. So now we have changed it. The application is reloading. Let's wait for a moment. Click on it. Okay, you see this slash admin. Now the slash admin has landed, but why it is not showing? Because we haven't or we forgot to import this admin routing module into the to the main module. Okay, now this works. Okay, see, view product works. Okay, so some component is loaded. Great. So now we will build up one by one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this view product component and paste a piece of code. It's just an header and basically a button which will direct them to the create page. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. So we will first always build the basic HTML. Don't jump and build start building all these views, tables and all. Go one by one. That is my advice. So build up how you want this layout to be. Okay, build up that layout first, then fill in each boxes inside. So that's the easy thing. Okay, so now we have done that. Now under the create product, what we have to do is again the same logic. First, let's build up a basic form that has all the property that I showed you in the final demo. Okay, which means the product name, description, price, category, all those things. First, let's build up the layout or the form layout, which will look like it is a form. Okay, then I'll show you how easy it is for you to integrate the reactive forms in it. Okay, so now we have opened a form tag. We have just placed a piece of snippet which is available in Bootstrap 5 website. Okay, this is basically a syntax of how to use the input on. Okay, so we used form group and then the label and an input. So the label for will actually matches the input form name. Okay, so now we have built the name, description. Similarly, what else we want? Now we want a row with 3 columns where it will have a price, it will have a category, and then the final one will be the available since, right? So why we have split this 3 columns? Because those 3 properties are small one, right? So let's not occupy the whole row and block this UI. So that's why I've split that into 4 columns for the 12. 4 column, 4 column, and 4 column. If you add up, it will come to 12 columns. Okay, so that is what I'm doing, and you see this nicely, all these 3 things came. So now this looks like a form. Okay, we haven't done anything with respect to the reactive form, so don't worry, it will be very easy. So let's go one by one. So let's build up the button also. Okay, so now if you click on button, nothing is going to happen. So now someone's if you're working on a company or if you're trying to develop something, go in this way. This is the easiest way. You will encounter less error. Okay, if you start building everything at all together, you don't know where you went wrong. Okay, so let's build all these things. Let's build a link called go back, and which will actually put them back to the initial route, which is admin/product/manage. Okay, so that is what we are going to do, product/manage. Okay, so all good. So we have done all these things. Now let's verify. Because we are going to display more products, I'm going to just rename the product to be a products from singular to plural. Okay, now I verified that everything looks good. Okay, so let's put this slightly down so that it looks good. And then what you need to import here under the admin module is the reactive form module. See, reactive form module is again another ng module built by the Angular itself. So because we're going to use those edit, update, all those with the reactive forms in the admin section, I have imported this reactive form module only in the admin section. Okay, now coming back to this create product, let's define a form variable of form group. Okay, and then what we need to fill up the categories. You remember, we need to fill up the categories, right? One of the field is the category. So I'm defining a variable called categories, such as array of category, and I'm also initializing it with the square bracket. Okay, so we are injecting 3 services: product service, category service, and the toaster service. Toaster service, again, I told you how to install it. It's already there in the project, which will give us a nice small messages to be popped up on any side of this application. So I'm popping it up at the top right. Okay, so now without delay, let's quickly create a method called get categories, which will eventually call the category method from the category servers and gets all the categories. Okay, so we need to actually pre-populate the select dropdown. That's why we are doing it. Okay, so now how do we pre-populate here? So if you see the select, we'll put an ng4 for the option tag, and we're going to loop through all the categories, and then we're going to display that item as well as map the ID to the value. Remember one thing, value is within the quotation, so it will consider those numbers into string. Okay, I'll tell you why I was telling this when we build up more about this product. Okay, so now this is done. Let's load and see whether that is working or not. We will have a function called build form, which will return a form group. So what we are going to do here is we are going to create a form group, and inside a form group, each control is represented as form control. Okay, remember this, very simple. So return new form group, and then inside this you can have n number of form controls. Each form control represents a control. And then if you see the parameters within this form control, you can pass a default value comma validations. Okay, we'll go to validation shortly, but for now stay with me that we are just passing a null. Okay, which means the name of the product will be set up with a null value. Null means literally not any URL, it's just that it is not having anything. Okay, so now what we did, we have invoked the build form method. The build form method will come here. Now we need to use the attribute called form group attribute for the form tag and assign the form group name. In our case it was form. Next, the simplest thing is we will have an attribute called form control name, and then you define the name of the control that you gave. Okay, so how do I verify this form? You can actually verify in the way I'm doing it in 56. You can actually say form.value, and you can also specify that give me this value in a JSON format. See, right now I did this, it gives me a lot of error. Basically it says, hey, you have a form group defined it, but you haven't passed anything. Okay, crazy. What was the problem? Okay, you see this, I'm calling this, but I'm not assigning the result of this form build form to the form. That's why once I assign this, everything looks good. And you see this, whenever I type something on the name, it started appearing down. That's the beauty of the reactive form. It's an instant two-way binding. Anything that you do in the control, it will come here, and you can actually do vice versa. You can control it from the component and will reflect in the UI. Be it a normal data or the validation or a runtime validation, adding and removing validation, all sorts of things you can do. Okay, great. I have different small videos I've already in the playlist. Please go ahead and watch it once you complete this course. Now let's build up the other controls. What are the other controls? So in other controls we have description. Okay, so which will be of same form control. I'm just passing an empty string. Okay, remember there is no validation added yet. We will go to the validation shortly. So let's finish up this form. The next one was the price, and that's also again a form control. Then the category ID. Okay, so basically what I'm building here is I'm trying to build the properties exactly matches with the post product API property. So if you see, my API has a post method, right? So you'll have to post those content. I'm exactly building trying to build the properties which is available in that API. That will make my life easy to gather the data. You will see that shortly. So we have built up the category ID. The next one is the available since, that was also formatted into the current date. And then the last one is active. Ideally is active is like, you're setting the product active or not active. By default I want all the products to be active, so I'm setting it as active. And this is the API that I was referring to. So if you come to this /API/product, you see this, all these properties that I'm highlighting. So those are the properties that is required for us to call the API, and you can see all those properties are coming up here nicely. Okay, now let's add another property called ID, and in this case, because we're calling the create endpoint, the ID is going to be ignored. So you can pass 0, 1, 2, ideally you pass 0, but actually you can pass anything. The API will actually ignore that value. Okay, for the update it to take that value. So let's say how to do that while we go to update statement. So now what else is there? We just need to do the same thing whatever we did for the into the name property, right? So we need to put the form control name for the description, for the price, for the select category, the category ID, and the available since. Okay, so once you do all these things, okay, the 4 values which were not coming that you saw a few seconds before, that will start appearing. Okay, so I'm going to quickly do that. So we have also changing all this property name properly, so because we copy pasted earlier, right? So now what is available since? Okay, so let's put available since here, and then we'll also put the comment. We'll also put the form control name as available since. So now the form is loaded, and if you change, you see this data getting changed. You change the category is coming as item.id. all right, so there's something wrong. We will change it. Basically it's not evaluated, it's literally taking that item.id as a string. So you just need to put that value properly, and then that should start coming. See, description was not coming because there was a spelling mistake. So now see, as you type description, title, everything comes. Okay, the price comes. We will add the validation shortly. I'm just verifying all the data is coming into the form. So this is how you do step by step. If you do like this, right, you will actually start finding out the issues in the early stage. You see this one, once I change this inside the interpolation, now if I change the ID, okay, see, now the ID started appearing. Okay, earlier the interpolation was not there, so it was just treating whatever is there inside the double code as literally a string. Okay, now we have this model ready. Okay, so this should be enough for us to call the API, but we will encounter a lot of other issues which we will solve one by one. So let's have a method called onSubmit. So onSubmit method is the one that will be invoked when you hit on the save button. Okay, so for that you need to bind this to the ngSubmit event. ngSubmit event is available at the form level, and then once you bind this event and you see this type is equal to submit. Okay, it is not just a button click. If you put a type is equal to button and do an ngSubmit, it will not trigger. Okay, remember that. So type has to be a submit, only then this ngSubmit will trigger this. So ideally when you hit on the save button, this method line number 45 will get triggered, and eventually we will call another method called save product, and save product is the one that does couple of action. Okay, so what we will check is this dot form is valid. Okay, valid is a form's inbuilt property which will always be true when all the conditions of the form control group is satisfied. So in our case we don't have any what do you say any validations, right? So as long as there is some data or not data, the valid will be true. So we are going to get true for now, so don't worry. So I'm going to have a method called get model, and I'm assigning that get model to the constant variable called model. So what this get model is going to do is it's going to get the raw data. So this dot form dot get raw value will give you a raw value of the whole form. You saw the JSON content, right? That was displayed on the UI for our verification, that it will give you. So once you have that raw content, actually you can cast this to the product class that you want. So the way I'm doing is like, I'm returning a product. The product will actually have these properties, right? Name, description is active, price, available since, ID, blah blah, right? So all these things I'm actually putting it and returning it. And in TypeScript, actually, if you put plus, right, you can actually convert that into a number. However, the string has to be literally a number, only then it will try to convert it. So in our case, if you see, I'm putting it for the price and category ID. Category ID, though it is holding a number inside the string, it is convertible to a number. Okay, so when you put a plus, category ID within the string will get converted into a number itself. Alright, so now we got the model in the line number 51 when they hit on the save button. Okay, so you should be able to see the data. So now what we have to do is we need to call the product service dot create product and pass this model. Okay, so assuming this model will have proper data, so that is what we are going to do. And then, so with the latest TypeScript, when you subscribe to such a observable of any method, it returns three types. It returns a complete function, it comes to an error function, and it also comes to the next function. Okay, so next is something that if the operation is successful, we received 200, 201, and any successful operation, it goes to the next method. And if it encounters any error like 400 and 400 above, they're all considered as error. 400, 500 are considered as error. So it will go to the error method, which will have an HTTP response, error response. So it will have an HTTP error response. Okay, and everything runs. Then finally it goes and calls the onComplete method. Okay, so let's copy paste three methods. I actually refactored it so that it creates by itself. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to paste a nice toaster message, and on save complete it will just give you a successful message, and on complete it will give you another information message that it is completed. Okay, the success info, they're all differed based on what you use, and for the error I'm using dot error, so it will give you in red color, info will give you in light blue color, success will give you in green color, so just to differentiate what is happening. Okay, I'm changing the verbiage slightly here, and I'm also trying to show them what error code that we're getting if we are encountering with an error. Okay. Okay, so this is all for development purpose. Actually, once you develop, test everything, you should ideally change all these things, which I will eventually do, but you will be seeing this shortly. This is only for development purpose to capture all those things right away for your attention. Ideally, you should not be showing all these things to the customers. Okay. All right, so we have done that. What else? So we have to come to this UI, and let's put a spinner component. See, the spinner component is coming from the shared module. So why do we need spinner? If someone is hitting this endpoint, and if the endpoint is taking, let's say, half a second or 1 second, okay, we will nicely show a spinner message that, hey, you invoked, there's some action happening. It looks nice, right? User will feel okay, something is happening, we just need to wait. Okay, and then we need to stop the spinner if something goes wrong or the operation is successfully completed. Anyway, so we will have a variable called show spinner, and that will flip showing and not showing the spinners. Show spinner should be a boolean variable, and we have to do that. So let's open up the network tab and let's fill up some name, description, price, category. Okay, stay with me, I'm just putting something. Okay, you see this? When we hit it, we got a 400 error. 400 error is like, your request is incorrect, you can correct it and send it. Right now API is stopping us to execute because it says price should be a minimum of $5, name should be minimum of some 10 characters, description should be some 10 characters, all these things. Now see, there are two situations can happen. One situation is, sometimes you will build up your own API and you will be the consumer of this API. Sometimes in company, some team will build API, some team will build UI. Okay, if the API is stopping it, or if they gave you the API definitions already, you can actually put the validation upfront in this UI and stop all these things. Sometimes it is beyond our control. Okay, if it goes to API and comes back from the API, we should be able to handle that kind of error as well. So we're going to see both the scenario in our demo. The first one, we have 3 errors and we know what is the minimum and maximum characters. Okay, today if you go to that API endpoint that I have given you, right, it will clearly tell you what is. So the API endpoint that I have will clearly tell you what is the requirement of the model. But let's assume that we don't know. Okay, so right now based on the error we know it is a minimum of 10 and maximum of 100,000, whatever it is, right? So I'm hitting it, I'm getting a response. So I'm going to now add the validation first time. I'm going to show you how to add the validations. Okay, so that is what I'm going to show you next. So let's put the spinner here. Okay, the spinner started appearing, I'm clicking on it, and then the spinner comes and the spinner doesn't go away. So let's copy paste that on error also, because on complete will stop if it goes to error. Okay, so now the spinner stops, we have fixed the spinner issue. Next is to add the validation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a method called control, which will accept a name which is of type string. So basically I'm going to pass the control name, and that will return either a null or an abstract control. Okay, and you will see why we need this. So here what I'm doing is I'm trying to go and get the control with the name. So form.get and then pass in the name of that, it will give you the control. And then there are many properties, touched, persistent, and so many properties, inbuilt properties. So I'm checking whether touched is equal to true, meaning I'm seeing whether the user has manually clicked on any of the input property. If they have touched, okay, then we will say, okay, if it is touched and you have not entered the required data, then I'm planning to show some error on the control itself, like the control will start showing up in red color, something like that. Okay, so that's my plan. So I have that method. What I will do is I go to this input and then call that method. How do I call this method? I'm going to assign a CSS class called hash-error. Hash-error will be set automatically on this control if it is true. And how do I get it is true or false? So we have to pass the control name and then it will give us a true or false. Now what this CSS class does is CSS class actually tries to put the border of the control into a red color with a solid line. Okay, you will see shortly that. Okay, so that is what this class does, and this class is there in the project. Okay, so don't worry about it. So now we are going to call a method that we created called control, and then pass in the name of the control. So in this case, name of the control is name, so I'm passing name, and I'm trying to check whether it has anything called errors inside the errors property. Okay, when I click on it, it is going, but I'm not seeing the expected result. Okay, there is something that I'm missing. Okay, I haven't added the validation. So how do you add validations? So validations dot required. When you do this, right, validation is an array of validation that you can pass. So for the name property, I'm going to pass more than one validation. The validation that I'm using right now is inbuilt Angular validation. Okay, here it just accepts the minimum length, maximum length. So literally this will set up the attributes to the input input element. If you go to the DOM and see what it is setting, it will actually set up min length and the max length, whatever we are putting it in the component, right? So that will be actually embedded into the input. So this way what will happen, the input is now forced to validate whether a minimum and the maximum number of characters has been typed or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and type here and see what will be the result. So let's run this. So right now it's coming as null, and you see this, if I enter it and come out, it started showing up that error. That is what I want. Okay, because we have added these many validations, it is checking the validations. Okay, if all the content is matching, if the content of the name is matching the validation, like the minimum and the maximum, that error will not show. Now right now error is showing because maybe we have a minimum of 10 when we have typed only 7 characters. Okay, now similarly we can do all these things in the product description as well. So what are we going to do next is we are going to okay, so now we are going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to create, so this is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to create two components called label error component under the shared module, and also I'm going to create another component called display error component. Okay, so why I'm doing this is I wanted to show some messages on the error, like not just the red box. If I just give you red box, what you will understand as a user? Okay, some red box is coming, some error, but how do I know what I should correct it? A visible verbiage which explains what is the issue will always help, right? So that's my point. So I've created these two components. I'm copy pasting a piece of code. Basically what this label error component does is, okay, we will pass in the control to this component, and if there is some error, it is going to display a piece of information there. Okay, so this is the help block CSS that I added, and if there are any errors that is added by the Angular, right, based on the validation failure, it is going to go through these things literally, and then it will see whether there is some errors in that properties. Okay, and then it is going to display the error. So the input is control, the abstract control, and then there is a properties called errors property. So errors property will return an object of invalid and message type. Okay, so now what we are going to do, we are going to go to the display error component. We have to paste a piece of code here. So basically here what you are going to do is we are going to pass in an array of string, and array of string basically will have a list of error properties. Okay, either we manually add it, or it's somehow retrieved from the API. We will see that shortly. But this component will be used if we can't get any error based on the API response. Okay, so I'm just creating the placeholder. We haven't gone to the API level now. Okay, stay with me for a second. So this is done. So let's come to this create product component, and I'm going to use a component that I just created, right? So the component that I will use here right now is label error. Okay, there's a spelling mistake. So label error is the component that I will use, and I will pass input. If you remember, input is control and this is an abstract control, right? So when you call this function control and then pass in the name, this returns either a null or an abstract control. I hope you remember it. That's what we coded. There's a spelling mistake. Let me correct this. And it is still giving me errors because we haven't exported it. So let's go back to the shared module. Okay, so in the declaration we have these two, but we haven't exported this. We ideally have to export these two, or any component that you add in the shared component, we need to export it. Okay, because this module has been embedded right into another module, so we need to have that exported as well. Okay, so now if you see, I've added all these things. There's no error here. The control that we are passing here is all good. So let's come here and type. Okay, I still have some errors. Okay, so basically we're trying to convert this into JSON, right? It is not possible. My bad, I should have not done that, because it will give a circular reference error, so it's wrong. So I'm typing it and I'm still not seeing any error, so there is no verbiage to display. Okay, so basically our component is still working, but we don't have any verbiage to display because the inbuilt validation that we use from the Angular, right, it doesn't have any verbiage, customized verbiage to be displayed. That is where our custom validation comes into picture. So let's create custom validation. Okay, so I already have different custom validation videos in my channel, so you can also watch that. But let's quickly go and create a file under the services, and here I'm going to name this file as custom validations. Okay, so let's do that. So custom dash validators .ts. So in this class, right, so basically I'm going to add a class called custom validators. Okay, so and then I'm going to create a method called required. Okay, so the methods that I'm creating here, they're all going to be reflecting the validation methods. So it is going to be a static method required, and which accepts an error message string, or if it doesn't send, it is treated as null. Okay, and then it returns a validator function. Okay, so it returns a validator function, and I'm going to return a control of abstract control at a validation error. Okay, so this is the function that I'm writing. So basically I'll tell you what this function is doing. Okay, so this function is actually checking when you call this this method, right? So we will call this method and pass an error message, or we don't pass an error message, but it accepts the control and it sees the control value is input. I mean, the control value is empty or not, because see, what does required means? Required means it has to have some value, right? So that is what the required is. So let's bring up a function called is empty input value outside the class, and this basically checks the value is null or the length is 0, which means empty string. Okay, so when this happens, we will return object which has required is set to true, and if error message is sent, error message is returned back. Okay, so that is what this method is doing. I'll repeat, you have a static method called required. We can either send an error message or we don't need to send an error message. I'll show you both the example, and it returns a validator function, and validator function is what we wanted to have it on any method in the validations. Okay, so now either we send the error message that they are sending, or if not, we can actually default the error message. So how do we default the error message? Okay, so if I put an or condition here, which means if the user is not sending any customized error message, I'll fall back to a default error message called field is invalid or the field is required. It makes sense, right? So we have this method. So let's go ahead and use this method alone. Okay, and then see how it works. So this is how it is. So let's go back to our create product, and I'm going to remove all the validation that we had already, which is from the inbuilt Angular, and we will use the customized one. Okay, then you will see the difference now. So I'm going to remove this, make a comma, an array of validations. Okay, you see this, when I put a comma, it says either pass in the validator function or array of validator function. In our case, ours is returning a validator function, correct? Okay, so let's open up the square bracket and use custom validators dot required, and this is a function, so you need to call like this. So this is one way. And if you pass in this within the codes, right, so which means you're passing some customized variable, customized error message. So let's take a look without the customized error message, okay, and then we will see how it looks for the customized error message. Okay, so now when you hit on save, it did not turn up any error, right? When you come inside and go outside, only then it will come up. See, field is required, it's coming, right? Nice, right? It's not just the box, it is also giving you a verbiage in a red color, that is giving you a nice description for the user that okay, this field is required. We can shout out, hey, please fill up this field, something like that. Okay, so I entered and came out, that's why it is coming. But what if the user is clicking on the save button? If they're clicking on the save button also, it should determine, right, what and all fields are required. You go to any job changing website or any big good website, you will encounter that kind of a good validations. Okay, so let's create a file called validate all form fields. Basically I have a method here. What this method is doing, right, in this method we will pass the form itself. What is form? Form is a form group. Form group is what is having, form group will have multiple form controls. Basically it will go through all the form controls one by one, and it will do manually a touch, like it will mark all the touch property for these form control manually, which means whenever you trigger this, which means it is equivalent of a user coming into the text box and going out of text box. We're triggering the errors, basically that is what we're doing. So let's refresh, let's click on save. See, instead of user coming and going out, we actually manually triggered it behind the scene. So this way upfront, when they hit on save, they know what is wrong. Okay, now let's pass in the error message. Okay, because we have custom error message that we can pass, right? Either you can pass, you don't need to pass, but we saw what will happen if you don't pass, and if you pass, what will happen. You see this, name of the product is required. Very nice, very generic. You can use this in your company, or you can use this in any project. This is really generic. Okay, you can actually pass customized verbiages. Okay, now before I proceed with anything that you just saw for the description, right, so what I'm going to do is, it's better to write a couple more the methods that are required in the custom validators. So what I'm going to do is, I already explained you how this works. I'm going to copy paste all the methods, like max length, min length, minimum, the price match, all the methods, greater than methods, like all these are custom methods. Okay, so basically all these methods are doing a similar validation, but we are going to make use of all these things in our form. Okay, so I've come to this form. What I'm doing right now, I have only one validation right now, which is required. I wanted to add two more, which is minimum length and maximum length. You saw the API was returning this, right? Give me minimum of 5, maximum of 1000 characters, don't give me more than that. So that is what we're going to experiment now. Okay, so we have set this length and the custom message. Now there are 3 validations added to this name. I'm going to do similar things for the rest of the properties, for the description, for the price, all these things. And if you notice for the price, right, I'm passing 4. Price should be minimum of $5. Okay, so anything that you enter less than 5, it is going to give you error. So let's see how this works. I'm going to click on save. Okay, the first one came, all the rest of the things didn't come. And if you guess why it has not come, maybe you're right, your guess is correct. Okay, so let's, before we reveal the guess, okay, so I'm going to see, put more than 1000 characters, and it is giving me a different error message. Nice, right? So based on the error based on the validation, it gives you all the errors. Okay, so what was missing? So we didn't copy paste this label, app label error component in all the other fields like description, price, category, all those things we haven't placed, right? We were experimenting only with the name property. Okay, so now you know how to succeed by one step. You first succeed with one single thing, everything looks good, no errors, all good. Then definitely if you copy paste this for the similar fields, it should also work. That is our goal. Okay, so we have added that for the name, for the description. Okay, so what else we need to pass in the price properly. Price is incorrect. Okay, so we need to copy paste this error also, so that red color box will come. Right now that is also not there, because we are focusing on the name and I missed it. So I'm going to copy paste these things properly in the description and the price also. Okay, so price I've corrected. You see this line number 33, price is incorrect. Basically price P is small. Okay, so I think I need to correct line number 33 as well, so we will correct it shortly. Let's first copy paste all these things. You see this, let's correct this, copy paste, control A, control K, control F will format the code. Let's hit on save. Price is coming, but see, the verbiage is not coming. Okay, the verbiage is not coming because we were passing capital P. Okay, we have to correct it. Okay, we'll go there, but let's validate other things. So category, okay, category is coming, everything looks good. So let's go back to the price. Where is the price? Okay, right here. Okay, you see this was incorrect. Okay, so I changed this price. Now if I do something, all right, started appearing, price should be minimum of 5. Okay, so the name of the control is case sensitive, so be careful with that, and it's okay. When I do also, these kind of errors will happen, and you can actually figure out. The more you learn, the more you practice, the more you remember. Okay, that's how I learned. Okay, so now we have all these beautiful things. We have added custom validations. We know how to add the inbuilt validations. Custom validations also good. So I'm going to add the minimum for the category ID, because I don't want someone to just select. You see this, if they don't select, it will start giving you error. And ideally you can pass message also that select a category for the product, so that will give us readable, human readable, understandable verbiage, right? So it's loaded. Let's hit on save. Now you see this, all the 4 properties are coming up with proper errors. It is not hitting the API yet. If you fill up everything, okay, if you fill up everything, it will hit. Okay, so let's put something here. This is a test product that will be deleted, so I'm gonna add something here. Okay, so now you see, on top of our validation, still we got error. What is that? Let's take a look. Okay, if you see this error that we got, if you see the error, we got one error. The field description must be a string or array of minimum of 100 length. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to pretend in such a way that our UI validation is all good, and then how to handle the API validation. See, if I put this 100 here, what will happen? We are actually fulfilling the API validation here. So that means API will not return any error because we ourselves giving proper data to that API. So it will give us a proper error. But in order to show you how to handle the API error, okay, I'm going to manually change our validation here and trigger the API. So that's where you'll understand how to do that. So let's create a new file under the service called model state form mapper. Okay, model state form mapper, I'm going to copy paste a piece of code. This is again exactly there. I've explained it in the previous video. So basically this what it is doing is, okay, it is going to it is going to receive the form which is of abstract control, and then it will also receive the error, HTTP error message that we received from the API. And once you have these two, okay, what we are going to do is we are going to map the fields. That's why I created a file called field mapping. Basically the properties that is returned from the API will actually match the property that we have it in our form. If you remember, I created the form and the form control names exactly matching with the property of the product model. So this way it is always going for us to easy to map these fields one to one. So this is what this method will do. Okay, it will check if the validation error that we are getting the error response is 400. If it is 400, you see this under the errors we have something called descriptions. You see this status code is 400, and under errors it's an array of issues. Okay, under errors we will going to loop through one by one and find out the property is matching or not. and in our case description property will match. We are going to make it as case insensitive. We're going to make that as case insensitive, so description and D small capital letter will still match. Once we match these things, okay, we will push the error message received from the API to our control, and if we don't find, we will push it to an error property that something went wrong and we don't know what it is. Okay, so that is what we're going to do. So here on error, what we have to do is we have to check the response error code is 400 or not. Okay, so let's declare a variable called errors, which is of array of string. I'm initializing it. Okay, so here this dot error res. Okay, I'm going to what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign the model state mapper response to this errors array. Okay, so errors array, why we need it? Because if it doesn't matches the property, basically it will put that extra error messages into this error message. Okay, so now we're checking the status code is 400. If it is 400, we will pass this form and the error response, okay, to the mapper. Okay, that is what we did in 104. We're passing the error message and the form. And then if the status code is 400, we know that the form can be corrected. So we will display this kind of a warning message in orange color. And if the status code is not 400, if something really went wrong, server exploded, like 500 exceptions, then it's fine. Firing up to stop the process. We cannot do anything. So we are going to do this some data here. Okay, and then you see this, because we already added that minimum length is 100, it is giving us error. So let's pretend that we are not having 100 as minimum, so that API will send us a response. Okay, so I'm going to change this as 5. I'm going to change a lot of properties into incorrect validation. Why? Because just to show you how API response is going to come and how we are going to map it. Okay, so we actually changed it for the name, description and price. So this way you provide less data, and then we will see how API will handle it. See, you immediately got the response from the API, and we also mapped the response from the API back on the screen. This is not the custom message. The message here that I'm highlighting is coming from the API. That's the beauty of our application, right? The customized message which is displayed from our API is now shown on the UI. Okay, so let's correct this. You see this time we are getting only description. Let's slow this out. See, now you're getting error for the name also. And if I change this to price, see, price, description, name, all the 3 errors that's coming from the API is now mapped onto the UI. Beautiful. This way user cannot pass in. We're tightening the restrictions of the user, like they cannot do errors. We have a system is so protective and so robust that we're trying to avoid errors, right? Later correcting the incorrect data and all. So I'm going to show you a real data. I'm going to copy paste the real data and show you how things works in the API. So if you see this name, right, it clearly says it came back with the result that, hey, this name that you have typed, it do exist, provide a different name. Okay, if you haven't watched my .NET Core Web API tutorial, please go ahead and watch, because that is the API that I'm using for this application. I will give you all the details in the description. You can actually watch. So now we are able to create the product. So whatever product that we created, you see this, it got created. Alright, there's no image yet. We haven't developed the edit part. That's why we don't see the image. Now it's time to build up this UI. This UI where you will present all the data, all the newly created products on this screen. So that's our idea. Okay, so this will be our final output of the view product page. Okay, so I'm going to just show you how this will look like, and we're going to create this now. So let's go to this view product. See, basically in view product, what we are going to do is we are going to call the get all product list, but a different method, which will return only the products that are editable for the users. Okay, because we haven't done any authentication. Now, right now, when I host this, anyone who creates a product will show up, but don't worry, next 1 or 2 videos, I'm gonna do the authentication part, which will limit only the users' respective products to be shown. Okay, so here on the UI, what I'm doing here. So I'm going to copy paste a piece of code. When I say copy paste piece of code, this is plain HTML. Okay, it's not like I'm just hiding something and skipping the video. It's a plain HTML, and then once you retrieve the product, we are going to loop through all the product with the directive called ng_for and display the data. And we will add a method called delete method, and delete method will basically call the delete API, and it will trigger a delete. Like how you're calling the create. Basically, you just need to pass the ID. You see this line number 34. You just need to pass the ID. Okay, so that is how the delete will work. So what I'm doing, showing you right now, is the get products. So get products by owner. You see this get products by owner. This is the method I'm calling. Okay, so this method actually tries to retrieve user specific or the owner specific products. Okay, so this method is actually going to retrieve those products, not all the products. Okay, and then it will display it. And then delete logic is almost same as how you do. So you see this delete, you just need to pass in the product ID. So when you pass this product ID, okay, if the product ID is matched, it will delete the thing, and it will refresh the data. You see this refreshing of data is happening on line number 57. Okay, and that's how you get these two things. So when you edit, I'm putting it to a component or the route that we already defined, right? Product/edit/product ID. So that is the route that it will take, and that edit product is what we are going to build now. And how this edit product will look, ideally this product will look like this. Okay, so here we have split into 75-25 section. The first 75 section, like 75% of the UI, is exactly same as create. Trust me, literally copy paste. Okay, everything is same. There's two difference with respect to the edit and the create. Okay, in company sometimes there is always an argument or a debate of using such component in a reusable way. We can do that, but I would like to simplify this for this demo. So two difference, right? On edit, you need to retrieve the product ID from the route and get that product ID and patch the data. Okay, in create there is nothing like that. You just land it, you are free to create a product. Okay, so that is the two major difference, right? You need to retrieve the route pattern, fetch the product ID, then fetch the data and then patch it. So that is the two things that we are going to do. So other than that, every single code that you see on the UI, be it a HTML or a component, just copy paste. Trust me, literally copy paste. Okay, not even one single character changed. Sorry, I'll take my word back. There is one character change on the heading. Other than heading change, there is nothing changed. Okay, so you saw that I copy pasted from the create product into the HTML of the edit product. Now we are going to copy paste a piece of code. I would say exactly same code as the create product into this edit product. Okay, and then we will be adding few more extra properties to support the upload section. Okay, so you see this product ID is the new variable that we have because we need to retrieve it from the route. Errors, forms, categories, source spinner, all those things are all same. Existing product, again, it's just an extra property that I have just to hold the product that we retrieve for the product ID. That is why we have it on the line number 30. Okay, now I have already shown how to fetch a route. Okay, so in order to fetch the route parameter, if you remember in the previous Angular complete video, we saw how the product details page is loaded, how you fetch the data from the route, right? So we're going to use the activator route service. So activator route is the service that we ask using the DI in the line number 38. So Angular is going to provide us that, and using that, actually on init you can retrieve using a snapshot.param map and then get product ID. Product ID will match the route. So once you have this data, we will call the regular get product. Everything is same. The next difference that you see is because this is edit, right? So instead of save product, like instead of calling create product, you'll be calling the update product. But the response and the way we handle the form, the validation, everything is same. Okay, so the very minor difference. Okay, so we will take the route, get the data, we have to patch it, which I will show you shortly, and then the forms, instead of create product, it will be going to be an update product. Okay, now after we receive the product details, we need to patch the data back to the form, right? You know, name, description, price, available since, category. Now you need to display those data onto this page, right? Onto those controls. That is what I was referring to the patch. Okay, so right now you see this, we retrieve the data, we have the data, but everything is showing as error because we haven't pushed those data there. Okay, that is why it is showing like this. Okay, so now we are going to do this part. So let's do this. Okay, so let's write a method called patch, and then this will accept a product as an input. Okay, so now how you can patch is, you can use this dot control. Control is our a function that we created, if you remember, sometime back, and you pass in that the control name and then use patch value. Patch value is a function that will accept a content and it will patch that into that control. So I'm going to change this name, description, price, available since, all those things back properly, so that all the 6-7 data, right, 6-7 or 5-6 properties will be patched accordingly to the UI. Okay, so now we have everything here, 1 2 3 6 items. Everything looks good. For the available since alone, we just need to convert into the proper date. So new date, pass in this available since and convert this to ISO string. Okay, so I'm using the slice method just to get only the 10 characters of the date. Okay, so now this dot patch, pass the data, and that's it. Okay, so let's run and see. Okay, as soon as I ran, it started coming, but let's go back and come from first. Okay, all these things, the right side that the product image is showing, that's because the product details that we retrieved, right, that itself has these product images. If you remember how we saw in the edit product, I mean to say product details, right? So it has by default all the product images. That's why it started showing up there in our UI. Okay, we will show you how to build up that upload thing. So let me write a method called selected product. Why do we need that? So when you click on that particular product, right, I wanted to show that product big to the right side, similar to how we did in the view details of a product. Similar to that, I'm going to show that. Okay, so for that, when we retrieve the product, we assign the first one to that variable. So when you click on it to the right side, I wanted to show an enlarged image. Okay, we are repeating similar items that we developed in the previous sections, but that is what I'm doing it here. Okay, so now we are done this, we are going to call this method set selected image. Okay, I will just summarize. We're going to use this method just to hold the selected image from the many image of the given product. Okay, that's the only thing it is doing. And then what else we have to do? So this is the place where we call that. Okay, we are passing the images and we are selecting it, and then you see this line number 80 has selected photo. So this one to show the enlarged photo. Again, I'm repeating, this is exactly what we did on the view product detail page. In the previous video, view product detail page, we did the similar one, right? That is what we're doing. So when you click on it, we are just putting that image in a bigger one. That's it. Okay, no fancy items. Now if you see this page, everything looks good. Only part which is missing is the upload image. Okay, so we are going to go to this component called upload product image component, and in this what we are going to do is we are going to build up the upload component. I do have a separate video for showing up how to upload the image from Angular. That is similar to what I'm doing now. Okay, so here we will accept the input as product ID. Once you have the product ID, okay, we just need to call the upload endpoint, where the upload endpoint requires the image to be uploaded. Along with that, we need to tell that it has to be a product ID. So that is why we need product ID. So I'm also having a view child variable, a template variable, in other words. Okay, I'm going to name it as my input. Okay, that's a element ref. When I say element ref, basically you can have a template variable defined on the UI, which means the HTML, and you can actually refer that element in the component using the element ref. Okay, so I'll show you shortly where I'm going to use this template reference name called my input. Okay, we'll go that shortly. So why I'm using this output? So output is basically, right, once you upload the image, once you receive the data, we need to emit back a response to the parent of the component that, hey, the images are successfully uploaded, and then just refresh the product data again. Right, because see, there are 4 photos, you uploaded 2 more photos, those 2 photos has to come to the left side, no, not to the right side, right? So for that we use this output attribute, which will intimate the caller, meaning the parent component, that operation is successful or not. If operation is successful, eventually we will edit and refresh the data. Okay, and other than that, similar to how you created the form group, form control, everything, the validation, a reactive form, in other words, right, the reactive form that you learned in the in the create and the edit, they are exactly same here. It's just that it has only one property called product image. Okay, so I'm defining all these things. Everything looks good now. Okay, so we have the control method, we have the ng on in it, we have build form method. Okay, so we have all these things. So we will have a submit button, we will have a submit function which will accept array of files. Okay, so why we have an array of files? We're going to use an input control which is of file type. So file type, you can restrict to either select one image or multiple image. In this demo, I'm selecting only one image. Why? Because our API doesn't support multiple image. So if I change my API to support multiple image, literally I can send more image at one shot. Okay, that's why I'm doing this. So I will also add another validation method which will check whatever file that you selected is only JPG, PNG and JPEG. You cannot select any exe file which is dangerous to upload. All those a simple validation that we are adding it. Okay, so then we will add a function called handle file input which will accept data of any type. And here, this is the important piece, right? So when we upload data, this is kind of a syntax, I would say. We have to use something called so handle files input. What we're going to do is we're going to cast the files property into the files of array. Okay, so now our constant file will have array of files, and we're going to pass this form and validate if all the validation is good, like if the control is having the proper images selected, at least one image is selected. That is what the validate all form field will do. Okay, if the image is selected, we will see the form is validate. We will see the form is valid, and then if the image is selected, we will see the form is valid, and if the form is valid, we will also check the extensions of the selected file is correct by using the pop method. You see this, we will just use the inbuilt pop method to retrieve the extension alone, and we're passing it to the validate file extension. Once you validate whether the incoming is correct, the selected files are correct, we pass this validation and we are good to go. If not, we will actually reset, or we should actually reset the file and display some nice error message. Okay, so that is what we have to do. So we have to stop the spinner and we will say something went wrong, and if all good, we will show the spinner, we will say image being uploaded in progress. Okay, we are initiating it, so you will start seeing one alert message. And then the next part is important. So we have to use the form file, right? The file that we have to convert into form data. So we are defining a form data in line number 74. Okay, that is how you will actually upload the data. So we will go through each files. In our case, it is only one file, but still we'll go through each files, and for each file we will add a key value pair. Okay, key is file and value is the form itself, the file itself. That's why you can name it whatever you want. Okay, it's a key value pair basically. So once you have these two, once we append this key value pair to this form data, the form data is now ready to send it to the API layer. Okay, so we have a method called upload image method, which will accept this form data. So let's see this right away. So this dot product services dot upload product image. If we see this, the input is form data and the product ID. Okay, so we need to pass the product ID. We already have the product ID. So once you send these two, right, API is now ready to process it. You see this, we are putting this file into the post method as the model, and we are going to send this to the API. If you want to go through the API, please go ahead and watch my web API tutorial, which is developed in .NET Core, and it's also readily available for you to review the codes. You can also take a look. So now we will subscribe to it, and then we will also copy paste a similar code. Exactly, when I say copy paste, I have already described you how these things work. That is what I'm copy pasting from the create product or an edit product. So basically, once we call this method, we will encounter three types of outcome, right? On error, on complete, or the next one. So based on the response, all these three methods will be fired, and everything looks good. There's one extra thing that we need to finish. What we have to do is we need to trigger, like for example, we need to emit an event that if it is successful, we will say it is true. If it is not successful, it is false. Okay, so that is what this image upload complete output is emitting. So we will always emit success if it is on complete, and probably we will emit a false. Let's copy this and paste it in the error section. We will emit a false because something went wrong, right? API couldn't process it. That is what it means. Okay, so we're going to do that next. So this piece of code that you're seeing, this is basically, if you see the line number 9, it's a type, input type of file type, and then you see this, the one that I'm highlighting, that is called template variable. So anything that you start with hash and the name, that's called template variable, and this template variable can be accessed into the component by using a view child attribute. Okay, so if you use a view child and use this template variable, you can actually access this input element into the component. And why do we need this? Actually, we need this to reset the form. Okay, so you see this input.nativeElement.value to single quotes. Basically, we are resetting the form once the upload is successful. Okay, so on change, it is going to trigger this event, and let's see how this upload works. So one last thing is pending. So we just need to call the handle file input when you trigger the submit event, right? So we have done that. Now all good. So let's take a look at the demo. So let's so we just need to now paste this component into our edit component, right? So under the images, I'm going to use this component, and here, like I said, you need to pass the product ID in order this to work. Okay, so we are passing the product ID, and we need to also handle the output event, right? So there was an output we have from the component, so we need to handle that. So I'm going to create a method called image upload completed, a method which is not yet there. So let's create that method so that whenever it is emitting true or false, right, we will end up to this method and we know what to do. If we have to either refresh the data or give some error message to the user, that is what we have to do. So if it is success, which is returning a true or false, right? So if it is successfully uploaded, which means the success will be true, then we refresh the data, because you uploaded a new product image and that image has to come to the right side. That is what it means. In the else statement, upload failed, so we just show that something went wrong while we processing your upload request and please try again later or whatsoever. Okay, so let's take a look at the demo. So choose the product. Right now this doesn't have any product, that's why it's not showing up. So choose the product. Let me choose something. Okay, this product image is very big. When you choose the right image, it will be very nice. You see this, the second one is good. So see, I uploaded. You can see those messages coming to the right top side, right? So you saw images being uploaded, and then it started showing up the image. Okay, so all those things, right? So you can upload many images, and if you don't choose, you see this validation is also coming in. It's saying which file needs to be selected. Okay, so this is how the edit works. All good. So here, see, you can upload the fifth image. The fifth image started loading up. You see this fifth image started loading up. Okay, so nice, right? So that is how the input and output was working. So input, we passed product ID, output was emitted that image was uploaded or not. Everything looks good. So we save this product. We can also see, we have saved this product. We can actually go ahead and see on the main page. Main page is also coming. The product detail page is also coming. Everything looks good. So let's go back to manage product and see how delete works. If you click on delete, it deleted and refreshed. See, the image went off. The product itself disappeared. Alright, so this is what the reactive form is. Like, you learned a lot of validations, custom validation, all many things here. The complete code is available in the GitHub. I'll give you the details in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and add your comments in the comment section. Share this video with your friends if you like it, and see you in the next video. And next video will be your authorization stuff with respect to this .NET Core and Angular. Thanks for watching. If you like my video, don't forget to subscribe my channel, like it, share it, comment it, and never forget to click on the bell icon.